Plus these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by Peyton. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. For sure. So sit back, relax because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah.
Just give me a
grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, ballers and sneakerheads? Welcome to Basketball at the Bar. Join us live every weekday for the best NBA podcast here on YouTube, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code, and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and please don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks, and let's go, Calvin. Give you a little cheers here. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday.
Playoff basketball. Can't ask for much more.
It is.
I guess they technically don't call this playoff basketball, but
play-in basketball.
It's the the play-in to the play-in.
What's up, all you barflies out there? I hope you are all enjoying your Tuesdays. Lots of fun basketball games. We had the Nets defeat the Cavaliers earlier today, and right now we are actually watching the Clippers at the Timberwolves game. We're going to show you guys a little live look. And we're just going to discuss this game and kind of break it down here. And then when this game is over, we will recap Cavs Nets. Then we'll be going into previews of Hornets Hawks tomorrow and Spurs Pelicans. But a weird day of NBA basketball so far. And like you said, the play-in, it's not playoff basketball. Kyrie Irving was 12 of 12, which they said would have been a record, a playoff record. Yep. It's not a record for the regular season. It's not a record for
it's just empty stats, I guess.
A play-in record now, which is kind of weird. What's up, Mike? Good to see you there. Yeah, Towns was having a very, very rough start to this game. I think he just made his second field goal here of the game, which is pretty incredible. You know, a couple guys that Calvin and I really highlighted that need to make things happen in this game. One was Anthony Edwards, and my pick was D'Angelo Russell, who has been absolutely phenomenal so far in this game. 7 of 12 for the field, 20 points. He's carrying the load for them at this point. You know, Anthony Edwards is doing his stuff too. He's hitting a lot of threes, but D'Angelo Russell just looks like a different guy in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this team has survived all season long, and not just survived, but the second half of the season really gained a lot of steam and momentum behind that three-headed monster of Towns, Russell, and Edwards. And like you said, Russell and Edwards right now are definitely holding up their end of the bargain. Karl Anthony Towns is nowhere, or has been nowhere to be found so far in this game. Started 0 of 7. You know, who knows? It's one game, so playoff jitters maybe getting him a little bit. He's also on the bench right now with 5 fouls, just picked up his 5th a few moments ago. That's going to be a very, very key scenario here to play out for the Timberwolves. They can't really afford, I think, to get down by too much more at this point. The Clippers are currently going on a little run here.
Yeah, and Jaden McDaniels is dealing with an injury right now. It looks like he might return to this game, but I know they were icing like a knee or lower leg area.
Yeah, he banged knees with Paul George. It's one of those unfortunate things. It hurts like hell when that happens, but I think he's going to be totally fine. He's already back in the game, so the best thing when that stuff happens is actually just to keep moving. Yeah. So for him to keep playing, I think he'll be fine. And,
you know, the depth at the front court for this Timberwolves team is not super deep. So if Towns does foul out, I mean, he's on the bench right now. You know, you could throw Naz Reid out there or one of these other guys, but he needs to really pick it up. And he
just took another shot.
Yeah, he needs to not foul out in this game because that would be huge. We saw some interesting action earlier on. We saw technicals early in the game for one of the Morris brothers. And then we saw him get in an entanglement, Calvin, with I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but he got tangled up with Patrick Beverley, who is a known instigator.
Yes.
They called a double technical. It looked like he was going to get ejected. And then they review it, and they're like, nope, just a technical on Pat Bev.
Yeah, tough decision to be made there, but certainly in a playoff game, play-in game, especially a one one game scenario like this, you don't want to see anybody have to cut their night short due to a double technical foul. So I'm glad that they took it back.
And Beverly is playing against his old team, the Clippers, which he had quite a bit of success. I know many people picked them to be, the NBA title favorite just 2 seasons ago with all this defense. Yeah, Mike, we're going to talk about her in a little bit.
I still haven't even seen the Glue Girl yet, so I'm very excited to see a clip of that.
You don't see that much. But Patrick Beverly, after failing to re-sign with the LA Clippers, he requested a trade to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they made it happen. I guess in his words, the offer from the Clippers was borderline disrespectful, so he was ready to move on.
I don't know if Patrick Beverly has ever had anything happen to him in his life that it wasn't disrespectful. So.
That's funny. Yeah, so Minnesota people are absolutely wild. Apparently, there is a girl that tried to glue herself to the court in this game, Calvin. It was really weird. Like, watching it live, basically, they moved the camera, everyone's moving out of the way, and they're like, oh, some lady fell on the court. Like, is she going to be okay? And they're all asking, like, oh, is there blood? Did she fall? Did she slip? All this stuff. Then they're like, no, she was protesting and maybe writing something on the court. Then the story changed to she glued herself to the court, and they're trying to pry her off of the court because her wrist or arm is glued to the court. I've never seen anything like that before, ever, Calvin. And
there's always a new way to protest, right?
First of all, how did you get in the stadium with glue? And you had to have had a decent amount of glue to glue yourself to the floor.
Did. Some pretty industrial strength stuff, too. What do you think her name is? I'm going with Elmira.
And second off, why are you gluing yourself to the floor? You think that they're not going to rip you off the floor? Like, that floor's got to have some kind of wax or polish on it or something. It's a little shiny. And security is not going to care if they rip the skin off your arm if it's glued to the ground.
No. I mean, it would probably cause a major delay for the game, but that's the other question I have is where was she glued? Like,
it was right under the basket. It was like right where it says Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, I don't even know how she got there.
Big shot there at the end of the quarter.
It must have been some very, very fast drying glue because it all happened very, very fast. What's up, Ivan? Good to see you here. Hope you're having fun.
Taylor is roasting animals. Wow.
Oh, yeah, the Timberwolves.
Yeah, all his players. End of the third quarter, Clippers going into the fourth with the lead, 84-78. Barry, you want to make a prediction here on this game? Who's coming out on top?
Well, I've been pretty surprised by the Clippers so far in this game. I thought that, we talked about them being one of the best 3-and-D teams in the league as far as, like, personnel-wise, but they got to put it all together. I'm a little worried for Minnesota here. I think Minnesota is a more talented team overall if you don't include Kawhi Leonard and all that stuff. But Towns has got to do something in this game. Like, he is the anchor of this team. The team goes as far as he takes them. And now that he's got 5 fouls and they got a quarter left, it's not looking good at all.
No, I'm actually going to predict that Towns fouls out here in this fourth quarter. I don't. Paul George is starting to get hot now. He started off the game pretty slow shooting-wise. He ended that third quarter pretty hot. He's already got 26 points. I think that the Timberwolves can't really afford to leave Towns on the bench for too much longer, especially if the Clippers come out and knock down a couple of buckets early in the quarter. So they're going to have to bring him back in. I think he's going to foul out, and I think that ultimately seals the deal for Minnesota.
Yeah, unless Anthony Edwards can go absolutely insane here and make a ton of threes, which
he is capable of doing that.
He is capable, but I also feel like maybe Paul George might take that assignment, or somebody's going to try and shut him down.
Robert Covington, they got a few people that they can throw on him. So.
Yeah. Hartenstein.
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Doesn't he look like David Allison?
I've never thought that. I'm going to have to take a closer look.
I was watching the game. I'm like, dude, that looks like David.
Maybe. I'm going to have to get a better look at him.
He's got the same hair. He's got the beard, like a little chin strap.
Yeah.
He looks just like David Allison. I know, Mike.
Shout out
I know
to David
you.
Allison,
I know you agree with me. But yeah, shout out. What's up, Priest? We are having a lot of fun. Hope you are too. Were you able to
Hi,
watch
Mom. Hi, Dad.
the earlier game today? Because it was wild. It was really wild. We'll talk about it a little bit later here, but just real quick, Cleveland went down like early in this game. They were down 20-40 in the first quarter. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant did not miss a single shot in the first quarter. Kyrie Irving ended up like 12 of 12 at one point in this game. He did miss some shots late, but Cleveland was able to come back. And Darius Garland is an absolute stud.
Yeah, man. He almost single-handedly kept the Cavs in this game. Cleveland, the future is bright for them. If they're able to keep that young core together, they've got a real good thing going there.
Yeah.
And it was great to see Karis LeVert back on the court in a meaningful game. He looked – I think he's still kind of shaking off some rust. He really just hasn't played that much in the past couple of years. But he's another guy that could be a really, really important piece for them moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. So back to this Clippers-Timberwolves game. I just got a question for you, Kyle, before we start the fourth quarter here. So we both are predicting Minnesota to lose this game, right? That doesn't mean they're going to be eliminated.
I would have picked them to lose before the game started as well.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw that out.
It doesn't mean that they are eliminated from playoff contention because they still have to play the winner of Spurs Pelicans. Do you think they're capable, or I mean, of course they're capable, but do you think they will win that second game? And which team do they match up against better, the Spurs or the Pelicans?
I think they match up better against the Spurs. The Spurs just don't have a lot inside. I mean, Jakob Poeltl has had a pretty good year overall, maybe one of the best years of his career, actually. But I will take Karl Anthony Towns to have a bounce-back game against him, most nights. And then defensively, the Spurs, they're a good team, or I guess they're not even really supposed to be here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The 10th seed was the Lakers to lose, and they lost it. They gave it up to San Antonio. DeJounte Murray is a phenomenal player who's had a really, really fine season. But outside of him, I just don't see them having enough firepower to keep up with Minnesota, who is now and has been for a while the number one scoring team in the NBA.
Yeah, they're not looking like that tonight. They're definitely not looking like the number one scoring team tonight. But, just looking at the box score here, Zubac's got 4 fouls. Reggie Jackson's got 4 as well. And then as far as Minnesota goes, the only guy that's really in foul trouble is Towns. And that's probably the worst guy to have in foul trouble. For me, I hunt out guys that are in foul trouble, right? Like, if I'm playing against you and you got 5 fouls, I don't care if I make a bucket or not. I'm going right at you every single time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you out of the game because I feel like Towns is Minnesota's Achilles, and you go right for the Achilles. If he's out, they're out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the fourth quarter plays out because the Clippers are really such a perimeter dominant team. They play usually 4 guard/wing players to go along with Zubats in the middle. They really like to spread the floor and shoot a lot of threes. So when Towns does get back into this game, it'll be interesting to see if they try to go inside at all, get some shots at the rim, try to get a contested layup going, and hopefully get Towns out of the game for good.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like they're going inside here.
That's a foul.
Wow, that was a very hard foul. McDaniels is tired of getting hit himself, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I got to hit somebody.
He's got to dish
finally.
out some of the pain for once.
Yeah, that was a tough call there. Big foul. Who's surprised you most for this game for the Clippers so far? Because, they got Paul George. They got Kawhi Leonard, but he's not playing in this game. You know what you're going to get out of those two guys. But who for you has really just kind of stepped up in this game?
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know how much of a surprise it is for me, but Norman Powell, this is a guy who the exact reason they brought him in to this team was to add bench depth, give them another good-sized wing who can play D. He's not the greatest defender, but he can really stretch the floor and has had by far and away the best shooting season of his career. He's 3 for 5 from 3 tonight, 5 of 9 from the field, 16 points off the bench. It's exactly what the Clippers need out of him. So he's got to be the X factor, I would say, at this point for me.
Priest wants to know who you're picking for tomorrow, Hawks or Hornets.
I'm still going with the Hawks. This game to me is a pretty big toss-up, especially if John Collins' status is up in the air. The Hawks can lose to anybody. Mm-hmm. The Hornets can lose to anybody. They both run up and down and score a ton of points. So it's going to be, I think, an entertaining game to watch. I'm going to pick the Hawks just because I'll lean on their playoff experience from last year that they were able to gain, even though they're a young team. They're going up against a team in Charlotte who I'm not sure if any of their players on their roster have any playoff experience. I'd have to double check.
Maybe Gordon Hayward, but he's out too, right?
Though. He's not going to play.
Interesting. Yeah, and depending on who wins that game, either team, I think the Cavs are going to beat them. I do.
I like Cleveland's chances, especially if Jared Allen is able to come back for that game.
Yeah, they really impressed me, and they said Jared Allen's potentially coming back on Friday. So
we know he's going to do everything in his power to play, right?
Yeah. And, Evan Mobley just continues to impress me, man. That guy is insanely good. He is really good.
He is a very, very fine player. And Darius Garland, you already touched on it a little bit, but that guy, this was his breakout season for sure. And I think that he probably is still not getting as much credit as he deserves for the type of player that he's turned himself into. Yep. Especially a couple years ago, we were thinking, or a lot of people were saying, does Cleveland, who do they hold on to? Do they trade Garland? Do they trade Sexton? Colin Sexton was playing like an MVP for the first quarter of the season a couple years ago. Now it seems as though Sexton is going to be the one on the way out, and Garland is the guy that they keep.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sexton is still dealing with that injury. He's out for the entire season. They've had a ton of injuries on this Cleveland team, but I got to give it up to their management. They have done a great job filling it in. They brought in Rubio. He gets hurt. Then they bring in Rondo.
Perfect replacement.
Yeah,
for
bring
Rubio.
in Karis LeVert. Like, they have just killed it. They brought in Markkanen as a free agent. This team has done a really good job of constructing this roster. And they do.
And all these guys are on pretty reasonable contracts right now, too.
Yeah, so. Other than Kevin Love.
Well,
but I mean, you got to give the money to somebody, right? You really do. And Kevin Love I thought he played pretty good today. 29 minutes, 5 of 11 from the field, 14 points, 13 rebounds. He missed that shot there at the end, which I think they needed to stay in it. But you got to have a veteran leader, and he's got a ring, and he's leading these guys, just like Rondo. But, yeah, back to Rondo. He was a huge pickup for this team.
Definitely.
I am still a huge Rondo fan. I think this guy is one of the most underrated players in the league. Like, he just keeps doing it. I know he's been back and forth between a bunch of different teams, but he's such a good player, and he's so smart. He teaches guys wherever he goes. And we saw at the end of that game where there was that lane violation. Kevin Durant misses the free throw. Referees give him another shot at it. And Rondo is angry. He is literally screaming at the referee, telling him his point of view, fighting for his players, fighting for his team. And, that's all you could really ask for a veteran point guard. And the best part about it is this team is not so reliant on him that he can get kicked out of a game. He can do all these things and not have it greatly impact them.
Yeah, definitely. All teams need that veteran presence. It's one of the things that is a big question mark with a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, right, who are the second youngest team in the NBA.
Yep.
They don't have any major veteran player who has legit playoff experience, or like in Rondo's case, multiple NBA championship series experience. That's a huge thing in the playoffs for young guys to be able to lean on like that.
And 2 rings for him now, right?
2 rings.
Yeah, 1 in Boston,
1 in LA.
1 in LA. I think is he the only guy that's done that?
To win
a ring with Boston and LA?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll get back to you on that one. I'm
pretty sure he's the only one. Not many players like to play for both of those teams.
It's true. You don't see it very often.
And we saw Shaq play for the Celtics late in his career, but not winning a ship with them.
Did not.
Did not at all. All right, looks like Towns is back in the game here. He's got it. They really need to pick it up. I mean, they're still in the game. It's not over. Minnesota can win this game.
There's lots of time left.
They just need a couple shots to fall. They need some calls to go their way, and they need Towns to stay on the floor. I don't expect him to leave through the rest of the game unless he is ejected.
Or fouls out.
Why couldn't Rondo help us when he was here? I loved Rondo on the Kings,
He
man.
did help Sacramento. He set the single season assist record for Sacramento.
He set
when he was there,
bunch of different records. And I remember there was like one moment where I think the opposing team was shooting a free throw, and he's there at the baseline. And like it was, I think the Kings were up 1 or down 1, and it was a really important free throw for the other team. And Rondo's like yelling to the teammate across and like switching back and forth with them to try and interrupt the guy's free throw. And the referees are trying like, hey, man, you can't move. You got to stay at your spot. He just does those little things that it's like he's so cerebral in the things that he does, tries to get in people's head. Patrick Beverley is a perfect like comparison as Rondo. I think that Rondo overall is a better player. Patrick Beverley's maybe a little bit better of a shooter than Rondo. But I loved Rondo in Sacramento. And in Boston, before the big three left, or when they all left and it was just Rondo there, he was balling, dude. He was like scoring 40 points a game against LeBron.
People forget about what prime Rondo looked like. It was a lot of fun to watch. Very, very skilled player and incredibly smart player, like you said.
And then he went to Dallas, and Rick Carlisle was like, nope. You can't be your own guy here. You need to be part of the team, which is funny, right? Like you can't be a Maverick. You got to be one of the Mavericks. And so he got asked to not return to the team, and then he comes to Sacramento. I wish we could have kept him. I like that team a lot. Rondo, Boogie Cousins, and Rudy Gay. Definitely underperformed. All right, Calvin. So it looks like it's a 7-point game right now.
It's going to be crunch time here. That's a big shot, but
he was making all those earlier.
Yeah, he's been hitting those all season long. Anthony Edwards is a guy. He's got all the talent in the world, and he has all the confidence, even more confidence than he has talent. He got a little bit of a growth spurt this year, and he's just been a absolute wrecking ball offensively. Yeah.
You have any more news about Kawhi Leonard when he might potentially return?
I do not. The injury report for the Clippers right now just says he's going to be reevaluated basically day to day. So
that's good news. There he goes.
There you go. 7 minutes left. It's going to be awfully tough now for Minnesota.
So if you are Minnesota and your best player just fouled out, you don't have many bigs, what are you doing to try and win this game? What are you changing in your game plan?
Well, I'm not steering away from what's gotten me here all year long. Yes, you don't have Towns, but this is still a team that loves to get up and down, run, shoot the three, and attack the rim. They've got plenty of guys on the court that can still do that. What it's going to come down for them is how many stops can they get. They're going to have to secure rebounds, but this team can score. They don't. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is a huge part of that, but you've still got two guys on the floor here who can put up 30 on any given night, and both of them might hit 30 tonight.
Yeah. I think if Minnesota's going to win this game, they need at least two more people to glue themselves to the floor. And that's probably Paul George.
Paul George would help if he, yeah.
How do you even clean that up off the floor?
It's a good question. I don't know.
With a scraper? Or you use some kind of acid or citric acid or something to try and get it off?
I don't know. Maybe they just turn the floor heater on. They've got ice underneath there. So.
Yeah. Nobody's slipping under the basket. We know that. Oh, wow. Wow.
But, yeah, I mean, Naz Reid is a guy that's been, pretty solid as a backup for them all year long.
Wow,
he's not a scorer by any means, but he'll be there to protect the rim and rebound. Malik Beasley is another guy that can really stroke it from outside, as we just saw. So this this Timberwolves team is not done by any means.
All the stars are out. We see A-Rod here. We saw, what was it, Jay-Z at the Nets game earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I do want to mention the shooting that happened at the subway station in Brooklyn earlier today is really sad. Fortunately, no one died. There was only injuries, which is great, but it's just an unfortunate accident. It just seems to keep happening.
Yeah, it's just really a bummer
sad
that we have to keep talking about these stories over and over and over again.
Yeah, very, very sad. So hearts out to everyone that did get injured in that. Hopefully you guys all make a full recovery and can move on with your lives. And, you know, the politicians in the area and the citizens can stand up and try and figure out ways to prevent this from happening in the future. You know, they're lucky that it didn't have the same outcome as what happened in Sacramento just like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just a really unfortunate situation. All right, so
we got, a 3-point game here. There's just under 7 minutes left. Minnesota, if they lose this game and they lose it close, you know, within 4 points or something like that, I can already see they're going to look back and say free throws were one of the biggest problems for them. I mean, again, the three-headed monster, they're doing their job, right? Edwards is 2 of 2, Towns is 5 of 6, and Russell is 6 of 8. But the team is 18 of 29 at the free throw line for 62%. 3 more free throws, and this game's tied right now.
Yeah, they're also letting the Clippers shoot an absurd percentage from three-point range, which we saw against Sacramento just a few days ago.
This is what both of these teams do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how many threes these teams are shooting now in the NBA. And, like, this is just like the Kings game. The Clippers are shooting better from three-point range than they are from the field. 3-and-D guys. Is that the future of the NBA, Calvin? A bunch of 11.
Forget the future. I think it's the current state of the NBA.
A bunch of 6'11" guys that can switch on defense and shoot threes.
Got a lot of those already, yeah. And I mean, that's just not only is everyone so much better at shooting from outside these days, and I mean everyone. Anybody that plays in the NBA right now is capable of hitting a three. You might not want them to shoot from outside, but they're all capable. But it's to add to that, it's when you stack the court with so many guys that can stretch the floor and shoot at a high level, it makes covering that much ground and defending so difficult.
Yeah, it really does. Rebounds are pretty even in this game so far. Minnesota's leading by 5. Assists are pretty even. Clippers are leading with 14 turnovers to only 10 for Minnesota. That's probably the reason why Minnesota is still in this game. And it's been a pretty tight game. You know, the Clippers have had a 10-point lead at one point in this game. Minnesota had a 5-point lead. It's only 3 now. Like we said, even though we both picked the Clippers to win this game, it doesn't mean it is over.
Oh, definitely not. This game is far from over.
Ivan, what would you want for Rashawn Holmes? I'd be curious because I think there's a lot of teams that could use a good backup center or a starting center like Rashawn Holmes. It's just a matter of what Sacramento wants back. So I want to hear what would interest you. Man, they got to move more.
Oh, no, there's no movement now. This shot's going up, that's for sure. There you go. That's what happens when you're one of the greatest players in the world.
Yeah, he's such an incredible player, man.
He really is. And I got to give a shout-out to Reggie Jackson, too. I mean, this is a guy who I was never really sold on as a player when he was in Detroit or at Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. But since he's come to the Clippers, man, especially in the playoffs, he's taken his game to another level. He's really become a very efficient scorer for somebody that takes that many outside shots. He is, without Kawhi Leonard, he's probably their second best player out there, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was not a big fan of Reggie Jackson just because I thought he had the perfect situation for himself in Oklahoma City. Then he said he wasn't happy there. He demanded a trade. He went to the Pistons. And I remember his very first game starting for the Pistons. He literally was on the sidelines puking because he was so nervous,
Yeah.
which is crazy for someone that's like, I want to leave my team because I need to start and I need to do this. And then the moment was too big for him.
Be careful what you ask for, I guess.
The moment was too big for him at the time. Hopefully this moment's not too big for him. But yeah, and what you were saying, he's made big strides, gigantic strides.
He's come up huge time and time again for them in the clutch as well. Especially when Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been out with injuries. He's really, really stepped up for them. Big time.
Is this team better with Reggie Jackson or Pat Bev?
I would say they're fairly similar. If we're talking just those two guys, I think it probably doesn't move the needle too far in either direction for me. Reggie Jackson is a far more superior offensive player.
Oh yeah.
Than Patrick Beverley, but Beverley is probably a better defender. So, to me, it's not that big of a difference.
Yeah, I think Beverly's got him on defense.
That's a big shot.
And leadership skills. Wow. Minnesota up 2. You want to change your prediction, Calvin?
No, I'll stick with the Clippers, but I got to give you credit here. You said it yesterday. D'Angelo Russell was the X factor for Minnesota, and that's definitely proving to be true right now. 27 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. He's 9 of 16 from the floor. I already mentioned the free throws. He's had himself a very, very good game and only 1 turnover also.
Yeah, if the Timberwolves end up winning this game with Towns only scoring 11 points and having a horrible game, 3 of 11 from the field, fouling out like with, 9 minutes left?
Yeah, only logged 24 minutes in this game.
No, sorry, 7.5 minutes left. It gives this Minnesota team a ton of confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
It really does.
Let's be real, though. This team already has a ton of confidence. The way that they finished the season, I don't think they're lacking for confidence at this point.
Well, so if they win this game, then that'll put them in the 7th seed, and they'll be matched up with Memphis in the first round. They are Minnesota. Minnesota versus Minnesota. They would be playing Memphis in the first round. What do you think about that matchup?
That's whoever ends up being the 7 seed and playing Memphis. That's a tough series to call for me. I've been a huge Memphis fan all year long. I love their team. I love the way they play. John Morant's one of my favorite players. I love Desmond Bane as well. They're really well-rounded. They're young. They're hungry. They're leading the NBA, or they finished the season leading the NBA in a ton of categories, rebounds, blocks, all sorts of things like that. So Memphis is the easy pick for me. But again, you never know how these teams, these young teams, are going to react to their first taste of the playoffs. They're lucky to be at home. So they have that going for them. They'll have the home crowd advantage behind them. But if they get matched up against a team like the Clippers that has a ton of postseason experience, Kawhi Leonard's able to come back, that's obviously you have to wait and see what Kawhi looks like, but that could be a real problem for them.
Yeah, I agree. What's up, Key Kings? Good to see you. We are just live watching this Clippers Timberwolves game. It's pretty exciting. And then we're going to break down Cavs Nets from earlier, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And then we're going to give some previews on Wednesday's games, and we will be live again tomorrow, same time, so hopefully you can join us then. Oh, wow. That was a bad gamble. That was a really bad gamble.
I'm not sure what that was.
This guy, Anthony Edwards, just looks like a totally different player this year versus last year. I don't know if whatever he's doing right now helps in most improved player voting, because I don't know what season we're in right now. Like, it's not the playoffs. It's not the regular season.
The NBA purgatory.
We're like in a weird bubble area right now. But he definitely deserves consideration in that most improved player.
Oh, absolutely he does. He for certain does. He's not going to win it, but
I think a lot of guys, only one person can win it, right? But I think just being in that conversation has got to give you some internal, like, my work is paying off, right?
Yeah.
Like all this hard work I'm doing, people are starting to recognize it. Maybe I didn't need to win the award, but the fact that people are putting me in that category means that they've seen the work that I've put in and the improvement that I've done. And all these guys put in a ton of work, but
some put in more than others.
And some people are just naturally gifted. And when
he
you have that
is
combination,
very, very naturally
Yep.
gifted. I mean, that's the one thing. When he was drafted, nobody questioned his ability, his talent. He was definitely the most talented player, just skill set wise, coming out in that draft class, and that's why he was the number 1 pick. The difference between him, or the question mark people had with him, was his mental drive, his commitment to being great, all that stuff. If you're going to risk the number 1 pick on somebody, you don't want to hear all these side stories about how, like, maybe I'll play football, or, I'm just doing me, all this stuff. I'm not really that motivated. Especially
if you're a team like Minnesota or Sacramento, or just one of these small market teams that's lost a lot. And what's that going to do to a guy's psyche that's already kind of maybe borderline, or you already have questions about? So shout out to Anthony Edwards. He's definitely put in the work.
Oh, yeah. This guy's going to be a perennial all-star, I think. The only finishing piece for him is going to be, can he become a really, really solid defensive stopper? He has the ability. You saw it in college also, but again, it was just a question of him wanting to be that guy. So he's taken a couple steps in the right direction here this season in Minnesota, and Timberwolves fans definitely hope he continues to improve on that.
So let's fast forward here. I'm just going to call it here. They lose in the first round of the playoffs, probably to the Phoenix Suns, potentially to the Memphis Grizzlies. Going into the offseason, what does Anthony Edwards need to do to improve his game? I know you mentioned defense, but that's not really something you can fix in one offseason. You'd like to think so, right? It's kind of something that you work on and you gradually get better. But is there one thing that he should add to his game this offseason to help him out next year?
Well, yeah, it's definitely defense for me. But I would also like to see him, he's so gifted physically, and I mentioned the growth spurt, so he's even adding on to that big frame. Right now, he's still so young. The guy hasn't even turned 21 years old yet. It's pretty incredible to think about. But for me, I would like to see him develop more of a, kind of take a page out of Kobe and Michael and even LeBron's books. All those guys, they're incredibly, physically overpowering. Maybe not Kobe so much, but Jordan and LeBron definitely are. And they found a way to use that size advantage to their advantage, right? And I'm not talking about just driving to the basket and, full speed, head of steam, going 100 miles an hour at the rim. You learning to play with your back to the basket, posting up, working on footwork, the turnaround fadeaways, all of that stuff. Edwards has that stuff in his game, but I think he could take it to another level this offseason, and it really starts with footwork first and foremost.
Okay. If you're listening, Ant, work on your footwork this offseason, right? Or feet work, as Shaq calls it.
Yes.
If you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, what are you looking for as far as how to build onto this team and come back stronger next season?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know exactly what their salary cap number looks like right now, how much money they've got committed already for next season, and even who's on expiring contracts. But they're in a unique situation. I think they're in a good situation where a lot of their players are either already paid or they're young, like Anthony Edwards. They still have him on a rookie contract. And then they've got a bunch of other young guys around them, Jaden McDaniels being one of them. I think they need to look at, how they can improve their depth on the front line. Obviously, McDaniels is a nice young player that they are bringing along and they're really excited about. He's taken another leap this year. But outside of Towns and himself, McDaniels, I don't see many other major front court players on this team. So I would look to try to add some depth there.
Yeah, you need to prepare for situations like this where Karl Anthony Towns fouls out and you need something inside. Luckily, Anthony Edwards, just like I predicted, is stepping up.
Never
Huge.
afraid of the big moment.
Huge in this game.
Never afraid.
So looking here at Minnesota's salary cap for next season, they have a bunch of expiring contracts. Taurean Prince is coming off the books. That's $15 million there.
I can't believe he's making $15 million.
Yeah, you have Josh Okogie at $4 million. Jake Layman.
That's right. I forgot about him.
Another $4 million. They're sitting about $120 million next season, which I think is about $10 million under the proposed salary cap. But you know, re-signing guys, bringing back in other guys, you know, they're going to be pretty close. They're going to be pretty close to that salary cap.
Clippers need a rebound here bad. Yep, there you go.
So I'm asking you the same question for Towns. You know, if you're him, you're really sitting on the bench here, and you're happy because your team's winning, but you're disappointed that you're not out there, right? Because you feel like you're the best player on this team. There's Russell again. You're the best player on this team.
Over.
You know, they follow you, and you're sitting on the bench here. So what should have Towns done differently in this game? And what can he work on in the offseason as well?
I don't really know what to say about what he could do differently. You know, unfortunately, sometimes you pick up early fouls. A couple of them are ticky-tack calls. You can argue whether they were justifiable or not. But, you know, that happens. And especially in a big game like this, playoff or play-in, whatever, you know, occasionally you come out with the mindset of, I'm going to run through a brick wall and put my, you know, fingerprints all over this game. And because of that energy and that excitement and that, you know, the atmosphere around the game, that leads you to play a little recklessly or a little too fast, and you pick up a couple fouls early. So I'm not really going to say that he could have done anything differently that would have kept him in the game in terms of not fouling out. I think he just needs to kind of settle down, relax, come out and play his own game. This guy has been absolutely on fire all season long. He calls himself the greatest shooting big man of all time, and he's starting to back that up. So he just needs to come out and play his game. I think he'll be fine.
Clippers, such a good three-point shooting team, right? That's exactly what they need to be doing right here. Got about a minute left in the game. They're down 3. It's not over yet, guys. It is not over yet. Early on in this game, they were shooting, or at halftime, they were shooting like 48% from three-point range. Now they're down to 45. But they got a ton of guys that can shoot the three. And I have to say, Paul George is probably getting a shot here.
I'm definitely looking to get Paul the basketball right now. He's feeling it. 5 of 10 from 3. He's got 31 points. He's the guy right now for this team.
Give Paul the ball.
This is one of the reasons why they brought him to this team. For moments exactly like this.
Glue him to the floor.
But that being said, Paul George has been a very willing passer here late in the year, and they've got a ton of other guys on this team that can hit a three. So if he gets doubled and they leave somebody wide open, expect him to swing the ball really quickly.
I don't think that was the right move by Reggie Jackson. All right, here we go. Crunch time, 50 seconds left.
So I'm okay with that decision. You know, there's still a minute left. You're only down 3. The lane was wide open. You know, a quick 2 there extends the game, but you got to cut off the initial drive there. Like,
wow, they called a foul on that? Dude, that's an offensive foul. Look at his...
I'm not giving him an offensive foul.
I don't know. That might be a no call for me. Zubats looked like he was straight up.
That's definitely a foul.
He was straight up, man.
It's definitely a foul.
Verticality on that one.
He was straight up, but anytime you bring the arms down like this, that's game over.
When you get hit in the nuts, your arms come down.
Even if you don't make contact, that's exactly what the referees are looking for.
All right. Ant's trying to close it out here, Cal.
Man, those are big time numbers right there from those two guys.
how'd you feel that, I know that I said that he was the key to this game, but how did you feel D'Angelo Russell was going to play in this game? Like, what if I were to ask you before this game, what do you think his stat line was going to be?
I probably wouldn't have gone as high as 29 points, but I definitely would have, been right around the rebound and the assist numbers. He's a really fine player, and being able to kind of be that, he's not necessarily the third option because he's got the ball in his hands so much. But I think tends to he tends to defer to these other two guys on the team when they've got it going, especially. Mm-hmm. And I think early on in this game he realized that he had to kind of pick up the slack a little bit scoring wise. So he's a really good player. Like,
I'm really impressed.
He's capable of putting up these numbers on any night.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this Minnesota team. Just the fact that these two young guys in D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards are able to step up and do this with Towns only playing 24 minutes, with him fouling out, with him only having 11 points and 5 rebounds in this game. This gives me a lot of confidence in them moving forward, especially because they're going to be playing Memphis and not Phoenix.
Right.
And if I'm the Clippers, I'm really, really hoping that Kawhi Leonard's close to coming back. And that Phoenix-LA matchup could be pretty interesting if Paul George is – if Kawhi is available.
Don't sleep on New Orleans. If they win against San Antonio tomorrow, like I think they will, they could definitely beat this Clippers team.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm them, I'm definitely licking my chops watching this game saying, good thing we're not playing against Minnesota because they are playing really well right now. Yeah. And the Clippers are not looking like the Clippers in this game. And that's the thing about these one game, right, is like, so they had to lose 2 games to get eliminated. I'm talking about the Clippers here. But they lose this game, they're basically 1 game and they're out. And anybody can win 1 game.
Yep.
Unless you're the Sacramento Kings. But, I mean, sometimes they can win a game too. But, yeah, you're right. The Pelicans have a good shot here.
Ooh, tough question, Key Kings. I'm going to go with Anthony Edwards, though. I love Jalen Green, his talent, his ability. He's a walking bucket, and the guy they both have insane verticals. Yeah. Can get to the rim and finish so easily. But over the longevity of their careers, I'm going to take Anthony Edwards as the better player.
I'm going to say ask me in 5 years because neither of these guys are anywhere near their prime. And, things happen. We saw what happened to Brandon Roy. That guy was looking absolutely incredible.
You never want to wish an injury on it or, expect an injury from anybody.
Yeah.
So
look at Tyreek Evans. He started out his career insanely hot. So it's really hard to tell when you're talking about primes because all these guys are so young, man. You might even be 6 or 7 years away from their prime at this point. With the way that technology and medicine is going, I don't think LeBron hit his prime till he was like almost 30 years old.
LeBron's still in his prime. What are you talking about?
I know, but starting the prime, right? It's like crazy. And he is not still in his prime, Calvin.
Highest scoring average since the 2005-2006 season.
As much as I love LeBron, he's not in his prime anymore.
No. Patrick Beverley comes up with the big defensive play, probably seals the deal there against his former team.
Paul George for 3. Bam, dude. He wasn't even looking at the basket. He wasn't even looking at the basket.
Sometimes you don't have to.
That's crazy.
When you're Paul George.
It's a opponent's arena. There was no mark on the floor there. Bam. Got it. Here we go. So back to the glue girl, Calvin. You think that's going to be on ESPN all night? Top plays, maybe?
I don't see how it could be on top plays.
Or Shacked and a Fool.
Shacked and a Fool for sure. Not top plays on Friday. Look for it then.
If you're an animal activist, what kind of glue do you use?
That's
not Elmer's, right? Because that's
not Elmer's. Yeah,
isn't that
not Gorilla Glue either?
Yeah, right. It's kind of weird. Isn't glue made from like horses' hooves?
I think I have no idea.
Right? Because you
I
take
mean,
them
I think
to
it's
the glue,
made from animal products.
the glue factory. So it's kind of weird that an animal activist would be buying glue to glue themselves to the floor
Right.
with animal products.
Well, maybe she'll defend herself later.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy way to get a sponsorship. She's going to be all over the commercials, right? I could see her on the, what is that, Flex Seal.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Flex Seal.
I saw this boat in half.
I glued myself to the court of a Timberwolves game.
All right, 12 and a half seconds left, Calvin. This is huge. We got a jump ball.
No, this is an inbounds play.
Sorry, inbound.
Oh, no foul.
Oh, I thought he was
Why
throwing
aren't
that
they
back.
Oh, you have to take that foul earlier. There's not enough time left. You just gave away 3.5 seconds there. I don't understand that at all.
Why is Greg Monroe not playing? I can't even remember the last time I saw that guy on a court.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But he's there. It doesn't say he's injured.
I think they added him for just to fill out their playoff roster.
A glue girl started the momentum for the T-Wolves in the second quarter.
Apparently she did.
New mascot.
Yeah, seriously. They're going to have her glue herself to the floor of every home game now.
We are 1-0 when people glue themselves to the floor here.
It'll be the halftime show.
It was right where it said Minnesota. I didn't actually see her. I just saw a bunch of people there. They said they were going to come back with more details, and they lied to us again, Calvin. I want more details. What's her name? What's her Instagram handle? I got to see what this girl looks like.
I'm sure somebody will have that information if you try hard enough.
Oh, man.
You got to get the rebound.
There you go. It's
Ball
over.
game.
Wow. Congratulations, Minnesota. He's doing the D-Wade, huh?
Yep. All right, guys, settle down.
All right, looks like we're wrong,
Settle
Calvin.
down.
We got to chug this beer, I guess, huh?
It's only a play-in game. It's not even a series win.
You ready for another one? Vinny, you want a beer?
No, thank you.
Vinny had too much fun the other night. He's not allowed to drink anymore.
What was the score? The final
109-104.
is 109-104.
All right, awesome. We can start the show now. Thank you to everyone that's been tuning in and listening to us just ramble about this game while we're watching it. We're still experimenting with the best time to do this show. We're going to try and do it a little bit earlier, about 1 o'clock our time, 4
Gotta
p.m.
get my work schedule fixed, and then we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Pacific time is kind of what we're aiming at. We're going to try that on Thursday. We're going to do a Royal Rebounds podcast early, and then we're going to kind of go right into this. But while we're still messing around with this time frame, some of these live streams will be during games, and that's okay. We'll just throw it up here on the big screen for you guys to watch, and we'll be discussing everything and having fun. But Calvin, it's time to start the show.
Let's do it.
All right, so first on the schedule today, let's talk about the Nets beating the Cavs. They officially defeat the Cavs 115-108 in Brooklyn. It was an exciting game. I was driving back from the other side, so the first quarter I was watching on my phone.
For those of you that don't know, that means the other side of the island. That's what we refer to here in Maui.
Sorry, I was on the other side of the world. And I'm glad I didn't watch the first quarter because it wasn't much of a first quarter, at least from Cleveland's perspective. They were absolutely getting annihilated, 20-40 in the first quarter of this game. And then Cleveland's able to turn it around. You know, they didn't end up winning this game. They lost by 7. But they were able to make this game a pretty close game considering they were down by 22 at one point. They never led this game. They just kept chipping away at the lead. You know, this is one of, if not the youngest team in the NBA. So the fact that they're able to take Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant not missing a single shot in the first quarter and Kyrie Irving not missing a shot for like the first half of the game and make this a close one, props to them.
Yeah, you definitely give Cleveland credit for battling through this game. You know, a young team in a new playoff style atmosphere like this could have easily folded midway through the second quarter, and this game could have been a 30-point blowout, but they didn't. They kept chipping away at it, and this is going to be the thing to watch with the Brooklyn Nets moving forward. They're so talented offensively. They've got two of the greatest, the 10 greatest players in the world on their team, but they don't stop people. Yeah. So in the playoffs, especially now that they're into the real thing, Boston is a team that can really score. They've got two phenomenal scorers in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Brooklyn's going to have to put up a ton of points or figure it out defensively very quickly if they're going to continue to move on in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that Cleveland is going to win their next game. They've really impressed me a lot. We're hearing that Jared Allen potentially could be available for Friday's game. So that is absolutely huge for them. But it all depends on who's able to pull it out in that second game tomorrow the first game tomorrow between the Hornets and the Hawks. I think that Cleveland can match up against either of those teams. But the Hawks worry me a little bit more just because their ability to shoot from outside. Trae Young is just incredible.
Yeah, Trae Young, Darius Garland matchup would be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, and the thing I'm worried about is Darius Garland is impressed me so much. He's such an incredible player, but the Cavaliers are going to need a huge game out of him to win that game. And if he's chasing Trae Young around the whole time, that might be a little bit harder for him.
That's true. It could. I think that he's good enough at this point, especially offensively. Trae Young is not a defender by any means, so Darius Garland, I think, will have his normal. He'll get his normal looks. He'll be able to get to his spots. They've got a good system there with the big men. That inside is really, I think, where that game's going to be won, right? If it is, in fact, Atlanta playing Cleveland. But Cleveland's got those tall towers inside, Mobley and Jared Allen, and even Markkanen, who doesn't play inside that much, but they start all of those guys. They're so big and so long, and inside. For the Hawks, you've got Clint Capella, right? So that's and both those teams love to use pick and roll. They love to get stuff going towards the rim for lobs. So it'll be a good matchup inside to watch.
No matter who they're facing, Cleveland will have home court advantage. If you're Dan Gilbert, are you hiring a glue girl for this game?
I might think about it now, yeah.
That's going to be the new thing, the glue girl.
Yeah.
That is crazy, dude. It still just blows my mind here. So back to the Cavs-Nets game.
Or maybe a puke guy. Maybe they bring in puke guy.
I don't think they want their coach fired. But back to the Cavs-Nets game. Very interesting game. But I'm just going to go over the box score here real quick. Lauri Markkanen started this game, 13 points, 4 rebounds. Isaac Okoro only played 13 minutes in this game, 0 points, 19 for Mobley, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. An incredible game for Mobley, almost fouled out with 5 fouls. Darius Garland, huge game, 13 to 24 from the field, 34 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 6 turnovers. Needs to cut down on that a little bit. But, hey, what can you really ask for? This dude was absolutely balling in this game.
He was being asked to do everything. So
Karis LeVert, 12 points for him. 4 of 12 from the field. I'd like to see him shoot a little bit better. We know he can shoot better. Karis LeVert is an absolute baller and a great shooter.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he will
Has
improve.
a 50-plus point game under his belt in the NBA. So.
But 7 rebounds, 7 assists for him, only 2 turnovers on the night. And then Kevin Love came in huge off the bench for him. It's just amazing to think that this guy is actually coming off the bench for this team. Perennial All-Star, has won a title. 14 points, 13 rebounds. I'd like to see him do a little bit more work inside, only 5 of 11. But he really has some post moves. He can do some stuff inside, especially, give these bigger guys a break and throw Kevin Love in there. He's playing against bench guys. I think he can have a huge game if he's playing Atlanta, but we'll talk about that afterwards. And then Cedi Osman, only 2 points for him, or Cedi, however you want to pronounce it. I was surprised this guy is still on this team because I remember him in the LeBron days, which at this point is 5 years ago, which is incredibly wild. Still on this team. 21 minutes for him tonight, 4 rebounds, an assist, 2 points, played some good defense, was very active on the court. And then, as we mentioned, Rajon Rondo, 7 points, 9 assists for him, doing his thing, leading the team on the court. Unfortunately, they lost this game, but great effort for them. And then as far as the Nets go, Kevin Durant, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. He had a very impressive block on Darius Garland.
He was everywhere
in this game. He was perfect in the first quarter of this game, shot 9 of 16 to end the game. Andre Drummond, 16 points, 8 rebounds. Bruce Brown was absolutely huge for the Nets in this game. 18
He's been huge
points
for them all season.
9 rebounds, 8 assists, flirting with a triple-double, 3 steals. He had a rebound late to seal it, hit a couple big shots in this game, just was everywhere on the court as well. Kyrie Irving, I think, was the hero of this game. 12 of 15 on the night, was 12 of 12 at one point, setting a play-in record. 34 points, 3 rebounds, 12 assists, a steal. Amazing game for Kyrie Irving. Played 42 minutes, same as Kevin Durant, put the team on his back. I think he proved to everybody that, he is serious about basketball. Everyone's talked about the vaccination status and how available he is to his team and all that. He is showing them that basketball is still number one in his life and important. And dude is absolute stud. I was pretty surprised to see Seth Curry with an 0 on this game.
Yeah, and only 4 shot attempts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very, very unusual.
But when you're up 22 and Kyrie Irving is perfect, Kevin Durant perfect in the first quarter, but I would like to see them get him involved a little bit more. 2 rebounds, 0 assists, a steal, a turnover, no points, 34 minutes. You got to get more from Seth Curry. But they
will need him if they're going to advance. Absolutely.
And then pretty much the only thing they had going for themselves was Nick Claxton off the bench, 13 points and 9 rebounds, an assist, and 5 blocks. Huge numbers.
Yep.
Coming off the bench.
The Nets actually as a team were 5th in the NBA in blocks per game this season. So that they definitely defend the rim. Which
is crazy for a team that's not known for defending very well, but they can protect the rim. And when you got a guy like Drummond on your team who's known for blocking shots, Kyrie Irving is not known for being a great defender, but Kevin Durant's almost 7 feet tall and he's always inside and he'll go up for a block. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. As far as shooting from the field on the night, 44% for Cleveland as opposed to 53.3% for the Nets. Both teams shot in the mid-30s as far as three-point range. I was surprised to see Brooklyn at 66% from the free throw line. We saw Kevin Durant miss a free throw late in this game. It would have given Cleveland an opportunity, but there was a lane violation. Rondo was very upset about that. Kevin Durant does not miss many free throws. He's above 90%. He's smiling. He's laughing. He gets another shot, and, of course, it goes in, and the game is over. But an impressive effort for Cleveland. A game that they never led, but they were able to come back and fight through it. They led in points in the paint, and, they gave it their all.
They really did. Like I said before, the future is bright for this team. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but this was Cleveland's first winning season in almost a quarter century without LeBron James on the roster.
Yeah.
They have a lot to work with right now, and again, if they can keep this young core together, they're going to be good. They're going to be a good team.
Yeah, and I don't think this team even has a number 1 overall pick on it, which is wild, right? Because
Cleveland always gets the number 1 pick.
The number 1 overall picks. Like, you just go down the list, like LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, who's that one dude that they...
Anthony Bennett, of course.
Anthony Bennett. Then you had Andrew Wiggins.
Wiggins,
this team just continues to get the number 1 overall pick. No number 1 overall picks on this team, and they make the playoffs.
Nope.
So, or they're trying to make the playoffs.
Trying.
I got a little ahead of myself because
I would have made the playoffs.
I think
any other year.
I think they're winning on Friday.
If the play-in tournament didn't exist.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to think that there's a team in the East that's 44-38 and fighting
right
for the last playoff
Scratching
position.
and clawing.
when in the West you have teams that are 15 games under 500
Well,
still alive.
That's just the way it goes. And when you add the play-in tournament, you give an opportunity for teams with sub 500 records to sneak in there.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about Evan Mobley. I think he had a very impressive game. As I mentioned, 9 of 13 from the field, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks in this game. I know many people have mentioned Evan in the Rookie of the Year voting. If he is able to win Rookie of the Year, he will be the 3rd Cleveland Cavalier to win Rookie of the Year in that franchise's history, following LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. Incredible season for him.
Good list to be on.
He has really turned it around for Cleveland.
Yeah, he has. He had a great rookie campaign. Unfortunately, the end of the second half there of his rookie season was kind of derailed a little bit by injuries. He wasn't, I feel like, ever really able to regain the solid mid-season form that he had. But again, he's a tremendous, tremendous player. Can really, really protect the rim and cover a lot of ground. He can also defend on the perimeter for a guy that's his size. With his length, he's got a really, really nice skill set, great post moves. If he can develop a really, really consistent mid-range 12 to 18-foot jump shot, this guy is going to be a premier big man in the league for a long time.
Yeah, I think that could really help his game a lot. But I do have to give him credit. He only does right now what he's good at, right? Like he's very good at that. We see a lot of guys in the league. I'm just going to throw Buddy Hield's name out there for one, that try and do too many things, right? Like they think that they can do everything. One thing I've noticed about Evan Mobley is he stays in his lane. He knows what he's good at, and he sticks to those things. We don't see him shooting any threes in this game. Obviously, you know, we've seen the game evolve, and big men shoot a lot more threes. I think that Evan has the ability to maybe gain that three-point shot years down the line as he develops, but he's not jacking up shots. He's doing exactly what he can, and he's playing within his game, which is huge for a rookie because you don't see a lot of rookies that do that.
Definitely, and I think that's a credit to the coaching staff there. J.B. Bickerstaff is a really, really nice, fine young coach. Cleveland is very happy to have him there. I think he's good at developing young talent and getting guys to, like you said, stick with what they're good at and put them in situations to excel at the things that they are good at.
Yeah. If it's everyone's first time here, this is Basketball at the Bar. That's Calvin. I am Barry. I am not Calvin. I said that last time. But I am Barry. That is Calvin. And we love basketball. We love bars. And we love beer. So we're here just breaking down these games, having fun. We're going to be posting a new video, or actually a live, Monday through Friday, every single weekday, even if there's not a game. So Thursday, we will still be live on the channel. Obviously, once the season's over, our schedule will die down a little bit. But please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. We would love for you all to join us on every single one of these. We're just getting started here. This is only our second live on this channel, but we intend on putting out a lot of exciting content. And if there's anything that you'd like to see, make sure you let us know in the chat or down below in the comments. And we appreciate you all for watching. Anything else that really stood out to you in this game, Calvin? I know it was a home game in Brooklyn. It's always tough to win home game, or to win an away game if you're a visiting team. Both home teams won tonight. Anything else you want to mention about this game?
Yeah, I thought the Nets had a fantastic game plan. They came out right from the get-go and executed. Of course, it helps when your best players start, you know, a combined whatever it was, 15 of 15 from the floor or something like that. But the floor spacing and the decision-making, particularly from Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, were perfect. Irving with 12 assists in this game, Durant with 11 assists. They had the absolute perfect game plan because Cleveland would try to double them right away when they caught the ball. They would immediately flash someone in the middle of the key. Usually it was Bruce Brown, who would get the pass right away before the double team even got there. And then Cleveland was dead because you have the ball in the middle of the court with just 2 defenders left. It was a lob to Drummond. It was a lob to Claxton. We saw perfect timed cuts more often than not. And I really, really give a great a big shout out to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Everyone's going to talk about the efficiency from them in this game, the fact that they were on fire and couldn't miss, but it was their willingness to make the right pass at the right time. I mean, the team had 33 assists, and all but 2 of them came from guys not named Kyrie Irving, Bruce Brown, and Kevin Durant. That was the difference in this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And every time that it seemed to get stagnant, Bruce Brown is like backdoor cutting right through and opening up everything again, which, you know, when you got guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, it makes the game easier for everybody else on your team. Not if you're on defense, but just like watching these guys work is just incredible. And Kyrie Irving was just hitting like contested shots. He was hitting everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, and that, just think about how difficult it is to guard a team like that when you've got 2 of the best scorers of all time who cannot miss, literally. But yet, every time you try to commit an extra defender to them, they make the wide open pass for a layup or a dunk. That's almost impossible to stop.
Yeah, and I also want to mention that it is Ramadan, so Kyrie Irving is not eating or drinking water during daytime. He literally does not drink water during the games.
Pretty wild.
That is incredible, dude. I think I would die.
Yeah, it would be very difficult.
I think I would die. It's just incredible the way he's playing. Got to give a shout out to Kyrie. You know, there's all these other things that are involved with him. People talk about his mental state and the decisions he makes. Whatever your thoughts are on those, leave them aside. The dude is an absolute baller and one of the best players in the league. He really is. And he traded out LeBron for Kevin Durant, and now he's in the playoffs and LeBron's not.
Yeah, that's true.
That's so weird. It's such a weird situation. And, you know, I was just thinking today, I'm like, how weird is it for Kyrie that he's playing against his old team in Cleveland? Dude's only been on 3 teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's playing his old team in Cleveland in the play-in. They beat him. Next up is Boston, his old team as well.
Yeah, you know he's excited about that.
Couldn't have been better for him.
Couldn't be better right now.
He's on a revenge tour right now.
Yeah.
The only way that would be better is if he could beat LeBron in the finals, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, he's not going to get that opportunity. He's just going to send pictures of himself in the playoffs to LeBron, like, hey, where you at, man? You too old to be here? We don't know. Yeah, incredible game. All right, Calvin, you ready to move on here to previews of Wednesday's games?
Let's do it.
All right, so we have 2 exciting games here on Wednesday. First off is going to be the Hornets visiting the Atlanta Hawks. That's the early game because it's on the East Coast. I want to hear your thoughts on this game, Calvin. I know it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Definitely high-scoring game. This is a track meet. It's a toss-up of a game. I mean, we've kind of already touched on it a little bit, but both of these teams have been very up and down all season long in terms of, you know, just total performance on the court. We know they can score a lot of points. We know they don't stop very many people. I'm interested to see how Atlanta looks the first 5 minutes of this game, because they have had difficulty all year long when they're playing a team that they are expected to beat or should beat. They have a tendency to play down to their competition, and they have a tendency to fall asleep at the wheel on defense. Both of these teams do. But the Hornets are young. They've never been in this situation before. They're going to come out of the gates 100 miles an hour. And if Atlanta isn't ready to match that right away, this game could be over very early.
Yeah, according to ESPN here, Atlanta currently has a 69% chance of winning this game. I got to think that some of this is because they're the home team. You know, both of these teams are tied for records, but there is a tiebreaker. Atlanta gets home court, so they are hosting this game. Charlotte's without Gordon Hayward. Atlanta's without Shondy Brown Jr., Lou Williams, and John Collins is currently ruled out for this game. That's huge for them.
It is. And Lou Williams is also another guy that they will miss as well.
Yeah, Mr. Bucket. Back in Atlanta, right?
Back in Atlanta. Hasn't really had as great of a season as we're accustomed to seeing from him. But, again, a guy that's got a lot of experience, postseason experience, is a big time shot maker. Mm-hmm. You know, in a close game. That's not a win or go home situation, but it's very, very close to that. Or I guess actually this is a win or go home situation.
Yeah, this is win or go
for
home.
them. So yeah, having a guy on your team like that, not having him available is definitely going to be a big deal.
The over-under on this game, Calvin, is 236.
Take the over.
You're taking the over on this game?
Take the over.
And who are you choosing? Who you bet on? We got money line, or I'm going to give you the spread. Atlanta's -5.
Man, -5 is a little big for me. I mean, I see this game being either a one-possession game or the team that wins by 10 to 15 points. Like, I don't think there's any in between here. I'm still going to pick Atlanta to win. I'm just going to lean on their playoff run from last year, having that experience. I think Clint Capella inside is going to be a big problem for the Hornets to deal with. That pick-and-roll game with him and Trae Young is pretty lethal against good defensive teams, and Charlotte is a horrible defensive team. So it's going to be a question of who's hitting from outside. I'm going to go with Trae Young and Clint Capella to lead the Hawks through to victory here.
Yeah, both teams are 3-2 heading into this game. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of scoring, a lot of shooting. I probably have to side with you on Atlanta. I'm not picking a team yet. I think whoever shoots better in this game is winning this game. I think it's all going to come down to shooting. And that generally favors the home team, but you never know. You never know. There's a reason they play the game, right?
Yeah. I forget what the final score was, but the Hawks and the Hornets had a really epic game back in, I think it was like mid-January or December or something like that. The final was something like 138 to 130 something or whatever. The Hawks were up big, and then the Hornets made a big comeback to pull out the victory. So it could very well be another one of those types of barn burner games.
I see a game. Hawks win 113-91 January 23rd. Then they played again in Charlotte in March 16th to be exact. Charlotte wins 116-106.
I guess I was thinking of maybe a different game. But either way, these two teams can definitely fill it up. It could be very, very entertaining.
It looks like this last game John Collins missed as well. So he was not available for Atlanta. Charlotte pulls through 22 points, almost a triple-double for LaMelo Ball. It's going to be an exciting game. I hope you guys are ready. I really do, because I'm excited.
It is.
And, you know, I don't want to rag on the play-in here, but so far, you know, all the home teams have won. So those games are basically pointless. But more basketball. As we mentioned, 6 extra games of basketball that we get to watch. So that's exciting in its own.
Can't argue with that.
But I'm excited for Saturday. I really am. The playoffs
are going to be. That's when it gets real interesting.
They are going to be so much fun. All right. Anything else you want to say about this game, or should we move on to San Antonio versus New Orleans?
The last thing I'll say, you picked D'Angelo Russell as the X factor for Minnesota tonight, and he definitely delivered in a big win. Mm-hmm. I'm calling out Miles Bridges here for the Hornets. He's my X factor for this game. Guy who had a really, really fantastic season. Another guy who early on in the year it looked like he was just going to run away with most improved player. Kind of fell back down to earth a little bit. If that guy is able to hit shots from the outside, it opens up the floor for him to attack the basket. If he's able to score, 25 to 30 points, somewhere in that range, Charlotte's got a great chance to win.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, not many players on that team have playoff experience. So I know this is not the playoffs yet, but it's a playoff-like atmosphere.
100%.
Win or go home.
It's a win-or-go-home game.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how these guys step up. A lot of these players, this is probably the biggest game in their NBA career so far, and we'll see if they show up or not.
Yeah.
And you're predicting Atlanta, right?
I'm still going to take Atlanta to win, yeah.
Okay. So moving on here, we have San Antonio at New Orleans is going to be the second game tomorrow. That is the late game because it is on the West Coast, if you consider New Orleans the West Coast. Western Conference, I'll put it there.
Yeah. San Antonio's not much of a West Coast team either, but
Currently, right now, New Orleans has a 69.8% chance of winning this game, according to ESPN. The spread is New Orleans minus 5.5, and the over-under is 226. I want to hear your thoughts on this game, Cal.
San Antonio's in trouble. I'm just going to come out and say that right away. New Orleans has been a very different team ever since C.J. McCollum got there. Another fantastic season for him, 26 points nearly per game, almost 5 rebounds, a little over 6 assists, and 1.3 steals. He's also shooting ridiculously well, 50% from the field, 40% from 3. He changes this team. Not to mention they've still got Valanciunas inside. Brandon Ingram is also a problem. Devontae Graham has finished the season shooting much better from outside. I think New Orleans wins this game going away.
ESPN currently has Brandon Ingram listed as out. However, he is quoted as saying he is playing.
He's going to play.
Yeah.
He's going to play.
It's, what did they say? Last game of the season. Can't hold
anything
back
now.
And then we got Romeo Langford and Dougie McBuckets are both ruled out for San Antonio. I mean, it's crazy. You're just like looking at the records here. New Orleans is 10 games below 500. San Antonio is 14 games below 500. They're still fighting for a spot here. I have to agree with you. I think the Pelicans.
New Orleans, since the All-Star break, I don't know exactly what their record is, but it's much, much better. They've been a much improved team.
Yeah. I think that the Pelicans are going to win this game as well. But the one guy I'm keeping an eye on in this game is going to be C.J. McCollum. And that's because this guy's got a ton of playoff experience. As we talked about on the last one, like the Blazers had the longest active streak of making the playoffs.
8 straight seasons.
Which is really incredible. And C.J. McCollum has been a big part of that. Plus the fact that he missed like almost half the season with a collapsed lung.
Yeah, really amazing.
So,
he's been able to come back and still play at basically the same level.
Yeah. I look at it as a positive thing. Just like Kyrie Irving, this dude is fresh.
Yeah.
He hasn't played that many games. So I think C.J. McCollum is going to have a huge game. If I'm Greg Popovich, he is the guy that I need to shut down. He is the guy that I'm scheming for in this game. But I think the Pelicans are going to run away with this. I don't even know if this is going to be a close game.
Yeah, I'm not so sure it is. It is one game, anything can happen, and it's a win-or-go-home situation. So, nerves or jitters might take a hold of some players early on, and it ends up being a close game. You never know. But I just don't see San Antonio having enough firepower to win this game. DeJounte Murray, shout out to him. He had an incredible season, all-star, deservedly so. The dude is a very, very fine player. And then they've got a couple other guys that are, certainly good players in their own right. Lonnie Walker is capable of exploding offensively any night. Keldon Johnson has had a really underrated season, a guy that I didn't expect to be anywhere near as good a three-point shooter as he has been this season. He's really stepped it up for them. But at the end of the day, too much Brandon Ingram, too much McCollum. Valanciunas inside is going to be a problem. I just don't see San Antonio winning this game.
Yeah. That being said, there's a reason they play the game.
Yep.
So DeJounte Murray could go crazy. Greg Popovich, in my opinion, probably the best coach of all time. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he figures out a way to grind out this win and keep it a close game. But like I said,
and don't forget about one of my favorite nicknames in basketball right now, Jose Grand Theft Alvarado. Have you seen the clips of this guy?
Yeah.
Man, I don't understand how teams don't figure that out pretty quickly, but somehow he still is able to get 3 or 4 steals by sneaking into the backcourt a game or something.
That's kind of how I felt about spin move Siakam. I'm like, his move. How do you let him do it every time? But hey, everyone's got a specialty. Yep. When you're good at something, you keep it going. Yeah, I think Buddy Hield does that same move too, right? Where he just rushes in there, grabs the ball, and shoots a quick 3.
This guy, Alvarado, does it on almost every possession, though. It's pretty amazing. And I will say that actually about the Pelicans. Since the All-Star break, I've seen them go more to this full-court press a lot. And I think it's really, really worked for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 2 more exciting games. Anything else you want to mention on this, or should we move on to Gone Fishing?
Let's break out some rods and reels.
Right? All right. So, as we know, the play-in tournament, as Calvin explained yesterday, you wanted to give another brief explanation of how it all works real quick?
Well, we just saw both 7 and 8 seed games today. The winners of those games, that would be Brooklyn out east, and now the Minnesota Timberwolves out west, have advanced into the 16-team bracket. They are the 7 seeds, respectively. The losers of the games today, that would be the Clippers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, are then going to fall back into a final win or go home game for the play-in tournament on Friday. They'll play the winner of both 9-10 games, Atlanta, Charlotte, New Orleans, San Antonio. And the winner of that ultimate final game on Friday becomes the 8th seed in both the East and the West.
Mm-hmm. So we have 8 total teams here. The Nets and the Timberwolves have locked in their positions in the playoffs. They are both the 7th seed, respectively, which puts the Nets versus the Celtics in the first round and the Timberwolves versus the Minnesota Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies. That's twice I've done that. The Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. So, Calvin, there's 6 teams left here. Cavs, Clippers, Hornets, Spurs, Hawks, Pelicans. 4 of those teams are going fishing by Friday. Let's hear your picks.
I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers to advance and be the 8th seed in the East. And I'm going to go with the Clippers to be the 8th seed in the West. That means both 9 and 10 seeds out East and out West are going to do some fishing or go to Cancun or whatever they do these days.
I was going to say, you were looking at my notes, weren't you? But I disagree, Calvin. I'm also taking the Cavaliers to make the playoffs and become the 8th seed in the East. I really like this team. Like, they have a very bright future. This is not their year. It is not. Like, it's clear. Only one team wins the championship. They are not the best team in the league. They are nowhere close. But they are a great team, and they are on the up and up. If Jared Allen is available to play on Friday, I see them making the playoffs. I'm going to disagree on the Clippers. I was not happy with what I saw from them today. As you mentioned, I picked them to win today. They disappointed me. Now, if Kawhi Leonard can somehow have a miraculous comeback.
Of course, that's going to change things.
And he's available to play on Friday, I see them advancing. But I don't see that happening.
I don't think he's going to play.
And I'm going to take the New Orleans Pelicans.
Wow. Okay.
I think they're making the playoffs.
You heard it here first.
And I think that if they advance, we could potentially see Zion Williamson this season.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were going to upset the Phoenix Suns, and I was going to say, hold on a second.
No. I'm just saying I think we could potentially see Zion play this season. I know he was cleared for 5-on-5 activities.
I would be surprised.
2 weeks ago.
I'm not sure he's been cleared for 5-on-5 yet.
Okay.
I know he's back at practice, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Look it
if
up, because I think I saw an article saying he was cleared for 5-on-5. It's interesting that they've made it this far without him, because that guy is a complete question mark to me. You know, there's been issues with his weight, with his health. The dude can't even stay in his shoes. So huge upside, great player, but the best ability is availability.
I think he's in the same situation as Ben Simmons. No matter how far their teams make it, I don't expect to see them play.
Really?
Postseason.
I think Ben Simmons will definitely play this postseason.
Oh, wow.
I think he's going to be the Draymond Green on that Nets team.
I disagree.
Okay. You want to put a wager on it?
Sure, we can put a wager on it.
I'm not betting on Zion, but I'll bet on
Ben Simmons.
I'll bet on Ben Simmons.
I feel much more confident about Ben Simmons than I do Zion.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
And it says here in the official, this is ESPN's injury report for the Pelicans, Willie Green, coach of New Orleans, said on Wednesday that Williamson has been cleared for one-on-one work.
Oh, one-on-one.
Not 5-on-5.
Okay. I'm bad at math. I missed it. But let's make a bet on that. I can't think of anything right now, but let's come back tomorrow.
We'll come back to that.
And let's make a wager tomorrow on tomorrow's live stream, because I think that'll be a lot of fun. I think Ben Simmons is going to play this season. And I think the Nets could be in the finals potentially if
wow.
if he's available.
You're going to pick them to beat Milwaukee.
I think it's potential.
Wow.
We'll see what happens.
Wow.
We'll see what happens. All right, everyone. We finished up our coverage of today's games and the preview for tomorrow, and we have a quick Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for us or any topics that you'd like us to discuss, drop it there in the chat. We'll hang out here for a few more minutes and see if you guys have any questions. And, of course, if you guys have a bunch and we get talking again, we're happy to stick around. But we leave this time up to you guys. So let us know if you have any questions or anything you want us to talk about in the chat here. Why don't you think Ben Simmons is going to play this season?
I just don't think it makes any sense. First of all, the dude hasn't played in an NBA game
since last summer.
Will be close to a year. It was last May. It wasn't even last summer. So by the time he's maybe even eligible, it will be a year or close to it. He's barely been on the practice court with this new team. I mean, it'd be one thing if he was coming back to Philadelphia, where he at least has a lot of familiarity with a lot of those guys on this team. He's never played, well, aside from Steph Curry, and did he play with Andre Drummond? I don't think he actually did.
Nope.
So Seth Curry, I think I said Steph.
But,
yeah. That he has no rapport or familiarity with this team whatsoever. He's coming off of a back injury. A lower back injury for a big guy is always a very, very big question mark. I just think it would be, I find it hard to believe that he steps on the floor in a big time postseason series.
His last game was June 20th of last season.
June 20th?
June 20th, losing to the Atlanta Hawks.
Wow. Okay.
2021 playoffs, because they moved the season, right, with all the weird dates and all that stuff. So yeah, he's coming up on it. It's getting close.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
he's 10 months in right now. He tried to give it a go, ends up with a back injury. We still don't know what's going on with the mental stuff, if that's solved or not.
You just have to think about how little this guy has actually worked out in the past year.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that he was doing a bunch of stuff on his own, while he was going through his mental rehab in Philadelphia.
He only works out with his phone in his pocket.
But I don't know if he was playing 5-on-5. I don't know if he was just working out with a trainer in the gym.
Yeah.
I'm just very, very concerned about how little basketball activity he's had in the last year to throw him into a playoff series right away.
The nice thing for him is the fact that he has Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
It does help, and they don't need him to score. I get that.
Yeah,
It's not like he's
they
going to
don't
be
need much
jacking
out of
up
him
threes
at
or
all.
anything like that.
Pass the ball.
But still, this adjusting right away to the speed of the game, it's one thing if you come in the middle of the NBA season when guys are already in midseason form.
Yep.
We're talking about a playoff game now. I mean, the stakes are that much higher. The intensity of the game is that much higher. It just seems like you would be doing Ben a disservice to stick him out into that type of environment.
Yep. Key Kings has got a good comment here. Thoughts on DeMar DeRozan's impact on the Bulls during the playoffs? I feel like he has a lot to prove.
I was waiting for somebody to ask me about the Bulls. I mean, yeah, he's got something to prove. I don't know about how much.
I think he's got a lot to prove.
He has to prove.
Because
look,
Kawhi Leonard is an incredible player, but that Raptors team was DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan's out. They win a championship. He gets stuck in San Antonio, underperformed in San Antonio. Went to Chicago, having this amazing season that everyone's surprised about. We talked about it last year. Like, should the Kings sign DeMar DeRozan? And we're both like, no, he's kind of over the hump.
It turns out everybody should have signed DeMar DeRozan.
Exactly. So I think he has a ton to prove.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of the top two players on any team that's in the playoffs, you can say, sure, they have a lot to prove, right? Like, that's what the playoffs is all about. If you're the best player on your team, winning, adds to your legacy and all that stuff. In terms of his impact on the Bulls, it can't be understated. Like, he is one of, if not the biggest reasons they're in this situation and have been as good as they've been all year long. He has had a phenomenal year all year. They've put him in the right situations. That was one thing I didn't think San Antonio really did very well. They just didn't know how to use him that much.
Which is weird, right? Because I feel the same way about LaMarcus Aldridge, right? Like, he got into it with Popovich, and he's like, they're not using me right. And we talk about how Pop is like one of the best coaches in the NBA, and they're misusing multiple players.
And playing alongside Zach LaVine, I think, has really helped DeMar. It's taken a little bit of the pressure off his back. He plays a little bit freer now, and I think you've seen that translate into his shooting. He had the best three-point shooting season of his career this year. It was only about 35%, but still, it's marketably
that's
better
not bad at all
than what he has been his whole career. And he had one of the best mid-range, as you would expect, shooting percentages of anybody in the league this season. His impact is everything for Chicago. Unfortunately, they drew a really, really tough first-round matchup in Milwaukee. They don't match up with them very well. And not having Lonzo Ball is really going to hurt them. Really, really going to hurt them because he's their best defender and a phenomenal three-point shooter as well.
Yeah, I like what the Bulls are doing. They're definitely on the way up. I don't think this is their year, but they're making big strides. And it'll be interesting to see what they can do to add to their team because they absolutely killed it last offseason. I think they had the best offseason in the NBA last year. Some people could argue that was the Lakers. But
no, it was definitely the Bulls.
I think the Bulls
when
had
you think
the
about
best offseason.
How many weeks out of the year this year they held the first seed in the Eastern Conference, given the level of competition, how good the East has become. All the injuries that they had to deal with. I mean, they were without Caruso and Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine for really long stretches of this season, and they still were in it, in the race there for a top seed in the East throughout most of the year. Their problem is they just don't have an answer for Giannis. They have nobody that can match up. Very few teams do.
Yeah, nobody
But the Bulls really have nobody that can match up with him.
Yeah, and, if I'm the Sacramento Kings, I'm looking directly at the Bulls, and I'm seeing what they did. Like it's almost identical to me. To think about, the Bulls had a guy in Zach LaVine that was putting up great numbers, doing whatever he wants, but the team wasn't successful. The Kings are in the same situation with De'Aaron Fox. The Bulls trade for Vucevic, then they have this amazing offseason, and they turn it completely around. The Kings trade for Sabonis. We'll see what happens this offseason, but they have the potential to do the exact same thing as Chicago.
A lot of people compared that trade midseason for Sabonis to the Vucevic trade. There's still a lot more work to do, and the Bulls spent a ridiculous amount of money getting all those guys too. I don't know that Sacramento has that luxury, no pun intended, because they're in the luxury tax, but we'll see what they
got like
do.
$30 million in space right now. But
I meant the Bulls are over the cap.
Yeah. No. But it'll be interesting to see what they do, and it'll be interesting to see what the Bulls can add to that team this offseason because, as I mentioned, they're a great team. They're on the up and up, but they're not quite there yet, and they need to add a little bit. They just need to keep adding. If you're a good team, you need to get better every season.
You still need to see what a full, healthy season with this team looks like. I mean, if Caruso doesn't get hurt, if Lonzo Ball doesn't get hurt, they could easily still be a top 3 seed in the East. And then we're talking about a whole different scenario for them.
Injuries are part of the game. Did you guys also hear about Rudy Gobert possibly getting pursued by the Golden State Warriors in the offseason?
I didn't hear about it necessarily, but it makes perfect sense to me. Like all the stuff that's swirling around Utah right now between him and Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and are they going to have to make a decision between keeping both of them or just one of them? And if you're the Warriors, Rudy Gobert is the perfect person to add to that team, right?
I'm gonna have to disagree here. If I'm the Warriors, I am not touching Rudy Gobert with a 10-foot pole.
Wow.
And this is the reason why. He's 29 years old. He's making $38 million next season.
He has a very hefty price tag.
He makes 41 the season after that, 43 the next season, and then he's got an option, a player option, for almost $47 million the year after that.
Yeah.
yes, he would work with this team, but I think you're going to have to give up too much to get him. Even salary-wise, just to match. You have Klay Thompson, who makes a ton of money. You have Curry. You have Draymond Green. All the rest of these guys on this team are all on rookie-scale contracts or veteran minimum deals. Jordan Poole's been playing amazing. I would not want to get rid of him. Unfortunately, James Wiseman has not been there. He hasn't lived up to expectations for a number 2 overall pick. Maybe they trade him. Maybe they just figure out what he can bring to this team. I think the fit would be ideal for Rudy Gobert. But all those other reasons I mentioned, I'm staying far away from him if I'm Golden State. And Golden State has been one of the best teams in the league over the past 10 years in utilizing salary. We saw the way they worked Curry's first deal, which allowed them
got a little lucky with that, though.
Yeah, but
Injuries,
it allowed them to afford Kevin Durant.
Yep.
And then, when they lost Kevin Durant, they were able to turn that into another all-star in D'Angelo Russell and then trade him for Andrew Wiggins and turn him around. I didn't even mention Andrew Wiggins makes a ton of money too.
Yeah,
so
they've got a lot of guys that make a lot of money on that team for sure. Here's the one thing I'll play devil's advocate to that for a second, though. Let's say the Warriors somehow get upset by Denver in the first round. You have to start to wonder how much longer that championship window is going to be open, right?
Yep.
With this current group of guys.
Yep.
They're all getting older. They're all coming off of injuries. Klay is super banged up at this point. You've got a lot of young, up-and-coming talent on this team, too. Jordan Poole might be ready to take over. That you've got a guy like Kuminga, Moses Moody in the wings waiting. So the idea might be, how do we, like the Spurs or like one of these other organizations that we've seen stay good, stay relevant for so long, how do we maximize the final few years of these guys like Steph and Klay while keeping this thing going? Getting a guy like Rudy Gobert, even though you might have to give up a ton, maybe they decide to move on from somebody like Draymond or move on from someone like Klay Thompson. It sounds ridiculous right now, right? But it's all about the keeping the wheels turning, right?
Yep.
So
it's a very tough decision for them.
The Warriors are going to have some really difficult decisions to make in the next 2-3 off seasons.
If I'm the Warriors, all I'm thinking about right now is how disappointed that I got James Wiseman at number 2 and not Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
Because Evan Mobley would have made that team unstoppable.
Well, those guys weren't in the same draft.
They weren't, but I'm saying back-to-back draft classes, number 2 overall. Like, you missed it by 1 year. If you would have had Evan Mobley, that team would be
they'd be really scary.
Ridiculously good. But back to your point about, there's a bunch of different ways to build an NBA franchise. And you look at a guy like LeBron, he's bounced around to many different teams, and teams are kind of forced, they're handcuffed into going into this win now stage if they have LeBron, right? They're willing to trade all future draft picks, all future assets, young guys to get win now players. We haven't really seen that from Golden State, right? Like, they've somehow been able to add talented players and keep draft picks and develop young talent. So it will be interesting, do they just decide, hey, we want to be good for the next 10 to 15 years. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to get what we can out of Steph and Klay and Draymond. Draymond is still the leader of that team, in my opinion, the vocal leader.
Yeah.
On the court, off the court. A guy like that, maybe his production drops, but his voice is still always going to be there, right? And he's going to be leading, teaching these young guys. Do you go that route, or do you say, hey, we got 1 or 2 more chances at a championship, and we need to trade in all this young talent and go for it now? Wiggins, for me,
tough call to make.
Is kind of the bridge, right?
Yeah.
He's making a ton of money. He's gotten way better since he's been in Golden State. And he's still really young compared to this rest of this core. He is kind of the middle guy between this core and the young guys.
Yeah.
Is he going to bridge that, or do you just give up and you trade him and some of these young guys and bring in a guy like Gobert? I don't know.
I'm not sure either. If I was Bob Myers and the Warriors, because I've got Jonathan Kuminga and how highly I think of him, I'd be willing to move Andrew Wiggins next year to get somebody like Rudy Gobert. And I would just start Kuminga right away next season.
Yeah. Interesting. Has the Jason Kidd narrative changed? Kidd was heavily criticized for his tenure in Milwaukee, but really changed this Mavs team as of recent.
Yeah, it's changed for me. I mean, Dallas is one of the more surprising teams in the league for me. Not because they're a playoff team. I expected them to be a playoff team. But the fact that they've become such a good defensive team, that they have won 50 games this season. Yeah, they had Porzingis for a little bit, but that experiment didn't really work for them. And then when they trade him at the deadline, you're kind of wondering, okay, does this team just fall apart at this point, or are they able to keep this momentum going? Luka is Luka, and he had another phenomenal year. He's going to have phenomenal years, from now until the end of time, probably. But they don't have much else behind him. Spencer Dinwiddie's been a really great acquisition for them, and Jalen Brunson is, I think, one of the two best backup point guards in the league. But they play really, really solid team defense. They play at the slowest pace of any team in the NBA. That's all Jason Kidd's doing, I think. So for me, the narrative on him has changed for sure.
Yeah, for me, I still need to see more from him. When I think of Jason Kidd coaching, I still remember him in Brooklyn, trying to lead that old team where you had Darren
I thought
Williams.
you were going to say the bump.
Where he gets bumped.
Sorry, you're getting there.
But he's trying to lead that old team that's got, what was that, Paul Pierce, Joe Johnson, KG, Brooke Lopez, and Darren Williams. That was a team that literally had a new owner. They were like, we're winning a championship here. We're mortgaging the entire future, which is crazy how they ended up with all these players like Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie and Jared Allen, because they basically mortgaged their entire future and traded it all to Boston for these two guys. That was an epic failure. We talk about, the bump me, spills his glass on the court.
hit me.
Gets a break. But I was not a hater of Jason Kidd in Milwaukee.
I wasn't either.
I know Giannis loved him a lot. I just think that team wasn't quite ready to make it over the hump. I don't know if that failure fell on Jason Kidd.
Sometimes you have to go through those same trials and tribulations as a coach before you finally figure it out, or at least have a better idea of, okay, in this situation, I won't make this mistake again, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even if your team is really good. I mean, look at Mike Budenholzer, who's the coach of Milwaukee now.
Yep.
His Atlanta Hawks teams were number one seed in the East.
Killing it.
They were great.
Five
but
All-Stars?
They couldn't get over that hump.
Five All-Stars on that team? Wow.
Couldn't get over that hump. Now, this Milwaukee team is a more talented team, I will say, so that obviously helps.
Drew Holidays.
You still have to go through those experiences to learn and become better. So,
and sometimes, as a player, having a coach that you really love, that coach can only bring you so far, and then having a new voice brings you to the next level. Look at Golden State with Mark Jackson. If I were to ask you, if Mark Jackson wasn't fired and he stayed another season or 2 seasons, does Golden State win the title?
You never know.
I think you could say the same thing for Milwaukee.
You certainly have to say that the odds are in their favor, but
I think I could say the same thing for Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right? Is teams grow together and they build. Sometimes you need a new voice, sometimes you don't. I've heard negative things about Jason Kidd coaching-wise, just in articles I've read about how he's aggressive, he puts people down, all this stuff. I don't know if any of these true or if it's just hearsay or what, but I think he's doing a great job with Dallas. I just need to see more of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, last call for questions before we shut down the bar for the evening. Oh, man, Calvin, these are good beers. All right, guys, we are going to shut it down here. We appreciate
Thanks for hanging out with us.
you all for joining us here. Mark Jackson to the Lakers rumors. I don't know. LeBron likes him. I don't think it's going to happen, man. Dude hasn't coached in the NBA in like 9 years. I think if he wanted to coach again, it would have happened. It would have happened. I think there's a lot of side stuff with Mark Jackson, too, with him like preaching on street corners and just all this kind of weird stuff where it's like, you're an NBA head coach. What are you doing standing on the street corner yelling at people?
I mean,
we have our own gutter Jesus
I'm never
here.
Gonna I'm never going to get down on somebody for pursuing their or trying to make the world a better place, you know.
He's got a platform. He doesn't need to be on the side of the street.
I mean, all these guys have platforms, but you still see them out in the streets doing stuff, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Look at Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, that's true. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another live here on Basketball at the Bar. Please make sure to hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button. We will be back tomorrow to cover Hornets Hawks, and we will watch part of the Spurs Pelicans game with you. Hopefully it's a close game. We will see. But everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good night.